Welcome to the High Performance Interviews. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Fanny Leboulanger from Toulouse in France. Welcome, Fanny.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here for this conversation.
Fantastic. And it's lovely to have you joining us, Fanny. Before I ask you about your story, I'd love to just share with our audience a little bit about your background. So, Fanny is a French physician, lifegasm fairy godmother, and creator of Your Sexyfied Life podcast. After years of working as a doctor helping women, she noticed something was missing. So she decided to use her skills to help people fall in love again with their sexuality, stop their inner war, and come home again to themselves. With a coaching methodology combining ancient wisdom and up-to-date scientific tools, a bilingual podcast, and a French sense of humor, she dedicates her life to helping people build their own sexified life to reclaim the lifegasm they desire. So, with all that said, Fanny, would you please share with our audience a little bit more about your background and where you've come from to where you are now and why you're specifically doing what you're doing?
I'd love to. So, hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Fanny Leboulanger. If you want to laugh, that literally means the baker. So, I am a French physician. I have finished my studies and I have a very basic story of life knocking at the door and wanting you to hear things and you not listening and not listening and not listening until things get sidetracked really hard. During my studies, I had a diagnosis of epilepsy at age 26 out of the blue without any history of anything. So I started to do some digging first for myself, noticing that I had been living in my head forever and actually really proud and happy to be strong enough to submit my body to do whatever I was wanting to do, which is now that I look at it as like pretty problematic by itself. But then a few things happened at the same time. So I did a ton of self-development work and yet couldn't figure out exactly what was making me happy. There was something missing. Also, I met a lot of my patients because I'm doing gynecology on a daily basis. I had a lot of women that I had to refer to sexologists for issues I didn't have any answer to. People who had vulvodynia or a lot of things that we explored, did the exams and didn't find anything. And it was like, okay, I'm going to send you to a sexologist. They have 6 months of waiting time. And part of me was like, there's something wrong if I need to send 3/4 of my patients to a sexologist. There's definitely different things to be done. I remember this woman being 34 and asking me, like in a whisper, Doctor, I think I'm broken. Like I'm 34 and I have no idea what an orgasm is. And at the same time, I was getting tired of getting my orgasms only from my partner. I was lucky enough to have orgasms, but a part of me was like, this is wrong. This is not supposed to work like that. So the combination of all of this, doing the research for my patients and also for myself, I started to learn, study, experiment, and then I met this beautiful woman I studied under. Her name is Lila Martin. She's amazing. And she has her own 650 hour of coaching certification that complemented really well, in my totally biased opinion, what I do and what I learned as a GP practicing gynecology on a daily basis. So that's what I do now.
Okay, so tell us more about how that complemented what you do. So, what was it that she brought to the table, Fanny, that you felt was the missing slice for you?
I think it's really the link of embodiment because as a doctor, I know how to look at someone's body or listen to the story they're sharing from a very somatic perspective. Like this symptoms can be a sign of this, this, and that. I also know from a personal experience and a professional experience as well to learn how to listen and figure out what is going on in the brain of my patients as well. Also being humble enough to know that they usually know better than you. And it's more a question of figuring out how to help them tell you what they think and what they feel in a way that you can understand.
Yeah.
So there's all of that. But what was missing in my training as a doctor is first the part regarding pleasure. Like, this is something that is not really, we should put more emphasis on this, basically. And also, because she brings the wisdom of Tantra in her methodology, there is this whole either Eastern wisdom and also using it to digest your conditioning, integrating what has been holding you back, literally eating your shame. She says, like, eat your shame for breakfast. And so, regarding your traumas and conditionings and the trauma spectrum, and this whole journey of mixing the wisdom from this methodology, the wisdom that I got as a practitioner and a doctor, really bringing all of that to the table helps, again, in my totally biased opinion, when you help people take care of themselves and help them get back into how much they are in charge of their health and their sexuality, you empower them. And it's really something that has brought this patient's empowerment journey to a deeper layer, in my opinion.
Okay. So she's combining your Western wisdom with her Eastern mythology. So those are the two things that are coming together, if I've understood correctly.
Yeah,
And
basically the
then,
best of both worlds.
yeah, best of both worlds. We love that. And I'm very into all of that stuff. So then are you working more to start with at an emotional level, at a mindset level, or are you going straight and diving into the sexuality side to be able to change that? So what angle are you coming in from generally at Fanny when you're working with someone?
Usually it's the emotional and sexual part. Also, because, again, in my biased opinion, you cannot really change your mind if you haven't addressed what is under all the traumas and conditioning and unconscious patterns. It's like create a new habit. Usually that doesn't stick. At least for me, it never sticks. So, and usually the sexual and emotional part are so interconnected. So when a coachee comes and she has, for example, orgasm challenges, she cannot orgasms or she's not satisfied with her pleasure. Usually when you go under the surface, the issues are really emotional most of the time because we all have accessible the knowledge and we definitely have more need to have more and have it more diffused and shared. And the clitoris is amazing and it's a pleasure organ that we all should talk about more and more. And it's also a question of digesting, people pleasing, fawning, all of that history that really has an imprint in our bodies and in our minds. And it's really the beauty of sexuality is that you're healing your body and you're seeing the blossom of the effects. Because when you reclaim your sexual energy, your sexual pleasure, you reconnect with what is life creating. But it's really when you do that, there are so many ways to reconnect to more aliveness. I've tried so many of them. I've spent hours and thousands of euros in self-development. And yet healing, or at least starting to make peace with, because I'm not even sure we can truly heal, starting to make peace with where I am in my sexuality and building something towards more pleasure is what worked on a very basic level.
Fantastic. And you talked about it being energy. And so, I mean, everything is energy. And so understanding that's just another part of your energy system. And if that's blocked in some way and it's not going to, it's like having the meridians as part of a meridian there, isn't there? I can't remember which one it is. I'm sure somebody's going shouting out at me right now and telling me which one it is. And that's fantastic. I can't hear you. But once you can get the energy moving in one area and unblock it, then are you finding that your clients start to improve fast? Does it take a long time? Is it a long process when you're working with somebody? Fanny, to kind of talk us through that and perhaps tell a story if you have something that connects with that.
I think the beauty of this is how it can change drastically if you find the good route. Like every coach can create the space for a conversation and ask a few questions that will flip how you thought about something with just a good question.
Mhm.
The beauty of that and doing and working with a sex coach is we have that, and we also embrace the somatic reality. And when we embrace that reality, when we digest the traumas and conditioning, then you create space for something new and for something more aligned. Because when you maintaining these unconscious patterns that are not serving you, it requires a ton of energy. And when you let go of that energy, then it is available to do something else and to do something that feels good for you.
Mhm.
And then all of this energy is available for something good. And you can create so much change. I really, if you allow me to digress a little bit here, there's this concept that I love and that I am passionate about sharing is the self-consent. If you have any type of sexual practice, if you do not ask consent to your body to get penetrated by whatever you want at the moment, then if you take the example of when you are on your period and inserting a tampon, if it hurts and you do it every month, no wonder there will be pain during sex coming after that. And so you wouldn't yell at a child that's just has started to learn how to walk. Why are you not running yet? What is wrong with you? And the same goes for your body. So when you listen to your body and allow the space to say no, so no, I don't want to receive anything today as a penetration, and just sitting with this no, usually because your body feels honored and respected, then you can find the yes more easily.
Interesting. Oh, I like that. So you're really tuning in to self-respect, you're respecting your body and you're tuning into its answer to you. And it does answer. If you care to listen, your body does answer you, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. I think self respect is one of the missing steps or often overlooked steps when we talk about self love and self cherishing. Because, again, on a very personal and biased perspective, I spent years saying that I should love myself and wanting to puke in the mirror. So that didn't work until I discovered the few missing steps at the beginning. And self respect is such a deep one and often overlooked
Mm.
one.
Yeah. And it's interesting, actually. I've just been working with a lady through a coaching course that I do, and self-respect was one of her, it was like a top priority for her. She knew she
Mm.
needed to find that self-respect. I thought all these are the things that people can tap into. So I've added that one in. So it's so interesting that it's come up again with what you do and how you
Mm.
help clients. And so does it take a long time when you're working with somebody to see those changes, or is it really quite fast, Fanny, or is it a one-to-one, depending on how open they are to change, would you say?
Mm. I think a mix of all of that, because as coaches or even as health practitioner, we meet people in different places of their changing journey. And so if someone is already ready to get back in action and do the practices, you will see the changes really drastically. And also, our role is also to welcome people who are a little bit further ahead or behind, I don't know, like further away, sorry, from this boom, I want to change. Because to arrive there is such a deep process. And our role here is to uncover what is really going on. And when you uncover the roots, then things change. So I usually do 10 sessions packaging, then the possibility to go forward. Because when you do a 10 session package, you can address a lot of things. You can start digesting conditioning. You can heal your inner child. You can reconnect to your body. You can make peace with your body mind. And so all of that is really about basically building a foundation for you to be autonomous somehow, more than I want a quick fix change. That's also why I work one-on-one, because I hate magic fixing solution. Like, we all know they're bullshit.
Oops. And just, I should have said as well to our audience, if you're wanting to find out more about Fanny, all of her details will be in the description box below this video. So do click on that to get through to Fanny and have a conversation. So if somebody is wanting to find out a bit more, Fanny, do you have like a discovery call? Because it's really important to understand if Fanny's the right person for you and you're the right client for Fanny, because it's a two-way process, right? It's two of you in the room. What would that look like, Fanny?
So I usually offer to people to have a look at my podcast so that you can see if my voice and my ways of thinking and my friendship humor is the right fit for you first. So it's called Your Sexyfied Life. If you resonate with my work, I would be so happy to jump into a connection call and see if we can make some magic happen together.
Fantastic. And so again, if somebody's listening in and perhaps they're feeling really uncomfortable, literally, or they're frustrated, or they're embarrassed about talking about that sort of thing, and they feel like you did, because I know you said to me at the beginning, I was a self-hater. So you hated yourself when you looked in the mirror. You felt like puking, in your words. And so if they're feeling perhaps like that, if there's somebody out there feeling like that, what would your 3 top tips be to them, Fanny?
I think the biggest one is to open your ears and try to soak in deep what I'm going to say. There is nothing wrong with you. The word we're living is twisting for about minorities and women. So however you think you're broken, trust me, you're not. And you just being here, wanting things to be different, is already so huge, because it shows that you have done so much work already. You have gone through so much because you are in contact with, this is not working for me. I want to change. So first, keep that in mind again and again, even if it feels that you can't integrate it today or that it doesn't feel true. Please remember that. The second tip would be reconnect to the senses. Usually, when we're stuck in deep self-hate, or when we are stuck in sexual boredom, sexual numbness, this comes with a senses numbness as well. If you don't feel pleasure in watching something amazing, if you don't feel the pleasure of smelling something, the pleasure of textured clothing, the pleasure of grass under your feet, of all of these, is what your senses is what is helping you experience pleasure. And usually we were wondering, how come I'm not experiencing anything great? And we're living in this autopilot, senseless, half was sleepwalking, half zombie reality from autopilot. And I always like to share the 5-minute chocolate exercise. Like, if you love chocolate, just take a piece of chocolate and take it between your fingers. First, just look at it, rotate it, and see the changes of colors, of shapes. Then bring it to your nose, then take 5 deep breaths, breathing the chocolate. And then bring it to your ears and start rubbing your fingers and see how the sound changes depending on what you do with your fingers. Feel it melting under your fingers as well. Then bring it to your lips. Feel it melting on your lips. The taste that starts. And then get a bite. Hear the sound that it makes in your mouth. Feel it melting and feel it the taste. You can just spend 5 minutes connecting to your senses with a piece of chocolate.
Hey, this sounds like fun.
Yeah, I do have a lot of exercises like that in the resources that you will have down below as well.
Fantastic. And that's very much about being mindful, isn't it? It's stopping everything else and just doing that. That Fanny has just given you a fantastic exercise to do if you are feeling like your senses have gone and you're missing. Don't do it while you're watching a video. Don't do it while you're looking at emails. Just do that. Nothing else. Absolutely nothing else, because that's the way you're going to get the best result. And then what's your third tip?
It's about allowing yourself to feel good. And so when you reclaim your senses, what I usually offer after that is the self massage. So you activate your senses with maybe essential oil diffusing around you or skin friendly oil that smells amazing. And then you can do it seated or lying down, playing with something that feels good on your skin and start self massaging. Maybe first your shoulders and your neck. We hold so much tension there. And it's really important to come back to your body and to do it in a safe way. Because usually, when we try something new, when we find a new method, what we are not aware of is how, when you try to change something drastically, it throws your nervous system in trauma response or in conditioning response. If you're afraid of your own genitalia, I can tell you to masturbate 3 times a week. That won't work. You won't do it. You will get into the resistance. And then it will reinforce your narrative of, I am broken. This is not for me. Da 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 da. So it's really important to reconnect to your body into a sensual way, activating the senses, just as we mentioned a few moments ago.
Mm.
When you do that with an oil that smells amazing, you can reactivate your capacity to pleasure, because we are built to conscious pleasure. We are built to experiment pleasure that feels and that fuels our soul. And this pleasure is what is helping you feel whole. When you connect to that, you don't need Netflix to fill it in for you. You don't need food to fill it in for you. You really can play a partnership with yourself, reclaiming that. And it starts slow. As we mentioned earlier, when you allow the first steps to be just what they are. First steps, allowing them to be there and not wanting them to disappear and push through and go forward because I want to go to the end already. You're noticing that first, you can go in a totally different direction. That happens so many times in coaching. People come to us and say, okay, I wanted that. And then when you explore, you ended up figuring out something so different that was so much better and so much more like what they needed, and they had no idea it was
Mm,
that.
yeah.
And also, it's a part of empowerment as well. And you know you have your access to your pleasure, then you're less, let's say, bullshit marketing sensitive because you have an inner compass of what feels good, of what doesn't feels good. And usually, when you reclaim to your pleasure and your sense of empowerment, you start to notice what is true. And let's face it, usually it brings a lot of changes in our lives. So buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. But
I like that. Buckle up, ladies. Yeah, and you're really then reconnecting with your senses. You're reconnecting then because of that with your emotions and how you feel with yourself. And that can take you on such a journey, Fanny. So this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us. As we've said, all of Fanny's information will be down in the box below so that you can get in contact, find out more, watch her podcast, and have that conversation if you feel that you'd like to take that next step. And if you're wondering, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Action, action, action. So do something towards feeling better, because it's okay where you are now, but it's not okay to stay there if you're not feeling fantastic. And we both want you to feel fantastic.
hell
So with that
yes.
said, if there's anything left on your heart that you would like to share, Fanny, please share it now before we end up.
I think what I love to share all the time is you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You're a smart being. You don't do anything stupid. Usually, there's only parts of us who didn't get the memo. They didn't need to hold on so tight to what was helping us at some point, that you've got your back now. You're doing things differently just because you're here and listening to this conversation. You're doing things differently. So
Mm.
it's time for all of those pieces to have a well deserved rest, because there's nothing wrong with you. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Well said. Thank you very much, Fanny. It's been fantastic having this conversation with you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our audience. There will be another video coming up on screen, so I will see you over there. So until we meet again, have a fantastic day. Bye for now.